And Enlightened Hearts. I'm your host, Michelle White. We have Miss Dr. Regina Hall, and tonight we've got none other than the Honorable Leslie Love, who is running for Michigan Senator, and she is going to be telling us about her platform. And we want you to call in this evening. Call in at 313-355-6018. But before we get started, I'd like to share with you some things that are happening in the community. And I believe, Dr. Hall, you were going to share something first. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
So,
I remember.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
October 11th is the International Day of the Girl. And we are inviting organizations as well as individuals to go to my website, sistersjourneyingtogether.org, and you can click on International Day of the Girl. Scroll down to the bottom, and you can sign up your organization or as an individual. We ask that you volunteer on this great day. Our Governor Gretchen Whitmer, has declared it as the Day of the Girl. So we have proclaimed it as the Day of the Girl, October the 11th, which is a global event all around the world, acknowledging the very unique things that our girls are going through to bring awareness to diversity, inclusion, and equality. So join us by going to my website, sistersjourneyingtogether.org.
And tell them about the other, you got some, at the event you had this past weekend at the T that we were talking about, there were a few proclamations that were given.
Yes,
by the governor, the
city. I have really Mary Waters to thank for that one. The proclamation from the city of Detroit was done, and then we had the mayor of Southfield to come to the T and present the proclamation for the city of Southfield, declaring it the International Day of the Girl. So it was a really big event that we had. We had our own Miss Michigan was there. We had our speaker, Tresha Galloway, who is an educational consultant, and we're looking for this to grow even bigger, for we can make sure that we're bringing awareness, particularly around inequality and not having enough diversity. And we actually have our own sister here today.
That's right.
About adding diversity. And so this is a great day to have a historical figure.
That's right.
Here, running for candidate of U.S. Senate. So join us on October 11th. Make this event, even if you can't come, do something with girls. Call up a young lady. Do an affirmation. But make sure we are blessing our girls on October the 11th. And I have a video that I'm going to upload to the site where you can see the work that we're doing, because we also do work in Nigeria. And that's a part of the video, so you get to see the work that's being done over there as well.
And it was a wonderful tea, and just everything. The whole thing was just excellent. Well, and all the work that you're doing with our young women, and just period. So that was one event. Then we also have this, all month long, we've been talking about bullying and...
stand up against bullying. Through respect, and we talking about domestic violence, dating violence, and mental health. And with our Enlightened Hearts piece, Dr. Regina is a licensed therapist, and we want you to always feel free that you can call in. Call in during the show. You don't have to give your name. There are too many people killing themselves, killing other people. But how about let's talk about it before you even get to that point. So please feel free and call in every time we're here on Wjzz Cool TV at 313-355-6018. And again, you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Don't forget to follow us, like, share, comment, subscribe. You can do that this evening. And thank you again for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. I just want to give one shout out. This is the National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Okay.
September the 15th through October the 15th. So just want to get a shout out to those in the Hispanic community. Just want you to know we're thinking about you, praying for you, and to know and to want to learn more things about you. So let us know what's going on in your community as well.
Please do. And regarding, we've been telling you about the JECF 5K run that's going to be at Kensington Metro Park on October the 7th. You can go to www.johnevanscashfoundation.org. Again, that's John Evans, EVANS, Cash Foundation.org if you'd like to run. This is a walk for mental health, a 5K walk, the JECF 5K run that's going to be on October the 7th. And Kimmy Horn will be giving a concert on that day. And there's another run that's happening that day in the city. But all these things I've listed on my Facebook page. Aldi's is hiring. There's so many a lot of job information that I put on my Facebook page at Michelle Turner White on Facebook. There are a lot of clothing drives and food drives. New Providence Baptist Church has a clothing drive, several dates that I've listed on the page. And then this one I wanted to share, NACA. How many of you have heard about Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America? NACA is a program, an excellent program that helps give you down payment assistance for a new home. And I know many people who have used this program and are now living in beautiful homes that they purchased. You might not have thought you could purchase a home, but you can. And this government program, not only do they help you get into a home, they will show you how to save your money. They take you through a whole program that helps you with savings and investings and how to get yourself ready to get,
That's awesome.
and they give you the money. Yes, ma'am.
Is that an income-based program? Or
No, anybody
participate?
can be a part of
Wow.
this.
That's
So
nice.
give NACA a call. You can call them at 425-602-6222. Again, that's area code 425-602-6222, or go to naca.com, www.naca.com. They are here on Sunday, October the 8th. They will be taking applications and wanting you to come in. It's a 3-day event, but it goes from Friday, October the 6th through Sunday, October the 8th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So it's an extensive training and what they send you through, but it is well worth it. I can tell you, I personally know several people who have were able to purchase nice homes, and it's not just for here. So it's for all states. So I know people who have gone through this program. They live in Texas. They live in Florida. So it's not just here. It's a national program. NACA.com. So give them a call. And again, go to my Facebook page and you can get more information about many different community things that are happening. So we're going to get right into talking to, I believe that when we have candidates running for office, we need to ask them questions. Everybody wants to complain about the country. Well, you're not finding out, and if you're not being a part of the solution, you need to sit down. You're a part of the problem. Sit down somewhere. And people, stop thinking that your vote does not count.
I know.
Your vote counts.
I mean, people
Our voices
died.
have always been something that has counted in our country.
I think that's the thing, right? That it's systemic. If you believe that, if you buy into that story, then you won't take out the time to count yourself in. So count yourself in.
Count yourself in.
And people sometimes, I think, feel so disconnected from their elected official, or they say, well, I don't feel the change. You know, I hear you say this, but I don't feel it personally in my life. And but the more you get engaged with your elected officials, whether that's a city, a state, or federal level, you'll be more informed, and you will feel the effect of that.
Yes.
I feel very good. Before I was ever elected and served, to have the personal phone number of my congresswoman or my city council member, that I had access to them, and I can tell them something like, I got a problem, can you? And they would.
Yeah.
And so I could feel it. Or
Yes.
you know, like your program about NACA that you mentioned, that you need a resource and they connect you to those things. So the more you're involved, you will feel it.
And if you're every city, well, I won't say every city because I don't know. The city of Detroit, they have websites. You can get connected. I get so many emails from Oakland County and Wayne County. It's Lord have mercy every day. But they'll tell you about meetings and different things that are happening. So get connected with your elected officials. Get connected because now everything's online. They are reaching out to you online. Where they can have community where you can speak to them. I don't know if you did that before at running as state representative, but people are doing that where they can connect with you online, have conversations, have video Zoom calls where you can ask questions. So
I think that the thing is, Honorable Love, what I would like to see us do more, people do, is stop expecting things to come to them and begin to make things happen.
That's
so,
right.
So like you suggested, call up your representative.
Yes.
First off, won't you take out the time to know who they are?
Right.
That's
Okay.
right.
And once you do that, call them up and see and stop us looking in negative ways and saying, well, they only come around, when it's time to be elected. Cause them to come around.
Right. Invite them in.
Invite them in. I know Honorable Leslie Love would sure welcome to come to, if you've got some big community event.
Yes.
I'm
Please
adding
do.
things to your
Yeah,
calendar.
right. No, please.
Yes.
Invite me.
October the 11th to your calendar.
October 11th.
That's right. Add it to your calendar.
So we want to ask you some things and get the conversation started, but really we want you to call in and ask some questions. We've had Hill Harper on. We're going to have hopefully Alyssa Slotkin and some other people on as well because we want people to ask questions. So Dr. Regina, you had a question. You were going to start the questions off.
To ask
but tell them what number to call in again. Here. 313-355-6018.
That's a round sound.
Yes. Well, I was listening to an interview that you did with Carolyn Clifford, and I just want you to know I really enjoyed the fact that you allowed yourself to be touched and cry. I heard you say, "Stop it!" But the truth of the matter is,
you were going to tell her bio too, some of her.
Oh
bio.
yes. I wanted.
She
to
gave
say
us a short version.
that I really enjoy the tears because oftentimes women get beat up.
Don't we?
And so I was like, oh, thank you so much for sharing you.
Yeah.
Because we don't need to beat ourselves up for a God-given gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's the misunderstanding of tears.
Yes.
If a person doesn't care, if they're not moved, that's the person you should be afraid of.
Exactly.
It's like, when people say, oh, you can't get emotional, you can't feel, it's like, human beings are emotional, feeling beings. Yes. And we use the language all the time, like, I don't feel her. I ain't feeling them, right?
Yes.
So we are feeling beings. And so to deny that and suppress that is really that the person who's a master at that, I go, now what else are you suppressing and denying?
Exactly.
I'm concerned. Yes. So never misinterpret the tears. It means I'm still engaged and I care. It touches it. And I would want my elected official to be moved to tears sometimes. That means they are still listening. They are still tender enough to receive what you have to say. And they are internalizing it, at least for me, and trying to figure out how do we figure this out.
Jesus will.
Exactly.
That's a good one. That's exactly right. And I'm glad that you are, I love you.
I'm going to use that. If I ever, sometimes,
Jesus
wept.
That's right. He will. Well, here we go. A consummate servant of the people, the Honorable Leslie Love is a former state representative of the Michigan House of Representatives. She served the 10th House District from 2015 until 2020 when she retired due to term limits. Leslie is currently the Senior Executive Assistant Deputy Director for the Michigan Department of Transportation, MDOT, Metro Region. In 2021, Love was appointed Commissioner by Governor Whitmer to the National Resources Commission and is the first African-American woman to hold the position. Wow. She is also a precinct delegate representing Detroit's 229th precinct. During her tenure in the legislature, Leslie served on both appropriations, which is really powerful. You know, I used to be in politics.
Okay.
too.
And
Right, me
policy,
too.
committees, and served as the Democratic chair of the Workforce and Talent Development Committee and the Appropriations Subcommittee on Joint Capital Outlay. Other committees' assignments include transportation, financial service, regulatory affairs, commerce and trade, and appropriation subcommittees on health and human services and transportation. I'll leave it there, but I'll jump right down to here. Miss Love serves on several local boards, loving golf, clay shooting. What is clay shooting? And is a feathers and fins novice hunter. She is a proud member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated.
Yes.
Yay.
And what is
Yay.
feather? What did you say? What
yes,
kind of
yeah.
hunting?
Feather and fins.
Well, let's get with clay shooting.
Clay shooting. Yeah. What is clay shooting?
So maybe you've seen it on television, on movies or something, when they say pool and you see the guys shoot the clay.
Oh, for
out
the birds.
Sky. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so,
Pheasants.
Yeah, so it's good practice if you are a pheasant hunter, a duck hunter,
Oh,
rabbit
okay.
hunting. You know, if you whatever, so you can hit moving targets.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's a sport. It is it's a sport. So there are games and money and prizes that are won. We have an Olympic team. In fact, at Hillsdale College, there is the premier. I think they do clay and skeet shooting there. So in the state of Michigan, we're housed to where we train our own Olympians right here in the state.
Wow.
In that.
Well, let me ask you, because we were starting off with equality and diversity and inclusion, and here you running for U.S. Senate. There's inclusion here, diversity, right? And now spreading some equality, because no black person have ever held this U.S. Senate seat, and no black woman.
That's
so can
right.
you talk to us about that?
Yes, I'm gonna. You know what, Michelle and Dr. Hall, I'm going to have such an authentic, genuine, real conversation with you. This will test if your listeners are listening. I'm going to tell y'all some real tea tonight.
Okay.
So,
Give
we're
us
gonna
the real tea.
Wait
Wait a minute. Let me get my.
Really,
I
yes.
know,
Get your
right?
pinky
I wish I
fingers
had
up.
my pinky
Get your
finger
pinky
up.
fingers up.
Okay. Really? Okay.
I'm sorry. What's your question again? What did you ask?
About diversity, equity, and inclusion.
And you running.
Right.
yeah.
So it is. It's a historical moment in our history. Not only am I black and a woman, clearly, but one of the things that is kind of rare in this election is that you have someone, a la me, Leslie Love, who is a experienced public servant.
Okay.
And I'm right here from the city of Detroit, homegrown Michigander. And I think when you are running for the top political, other than president, U.S. Senate, is that next level. And that's significant.
It
You know,
is.
we sometimes look outwardly for something, and that where it exists is right here in your own backyard.
Okay.
I think this very unique opportunity that in this race you do, even though we have a sitting congresswoman, I am the senior most experienced legislator in the entire race. And she came from Cooley High School, right on the
Okay.
west side. You
That's
know,
right.
that's it. When you read my bio to say that I sat on appropriations and the policy committee,
Yes.
I also served in leadership. I was in the leadership in the Democratic Caucus, the Progressive Women's Caucus, the Michigan Legislative Black Caucus,
So you
and the
got
Sportsman's
experience
Caucus,
across
right?
the board.
And so to be able to not only just serve, because you know people get elected and they go serve, and there's the degrees of levels of serving, but to then serve in leadership.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then to be able to pass legislation that got signed into law. And when I was serving, I had the most pieces of legislation signed into law of any minority woman in the legislature at the time.
Awesome.
And
Congratulations.
so that's huge. And served in the super minority. And so to be able to do that and know that right here from Detroit, Southeast Michigan, your own sister was the one who did that.
All right
It's
now.
significant.
Yes.
And even in the history of, so now she's running for U.S. Senate. Wow, you get a real candidate
Right.
who's like, and when before we came on the show, she's like, is there anything you haven't done? You've been in all these places. Like, I have been in your neighborhood. I've been at people's founding of their organizations, and when they was a little grasshopper, now they a big old gorilla grasshopper. I don't know, you know. And so it's like, yeah, I have been there. I've been at your protests. I've been at your meetings. I've been at your weddings. And so,
And so you're going to continue
yes,
to
and I'm
do-
going to
to
continue to
serve.
do that work.
Yes,
That's what
yes.
serving the people mean. You know, it's being engaged, even with
Yes.
what they care about and what they want, not just what we're trying to
Yeah.
move as an agenda.
For the senatorial seat, do you have a particular a plan, or what is you tell us about what your agenda is and what you would like to see happen in for the U.S. Senate seat?
Right. So I have my policy priorities, and they include infrastructure. You know, in the nation, in Michigan in particular, we've had, but in the world, catastrophic climate
Changes and
occurrences,
occurrences.
right? You know, whether it's flooding or severe storms, and knocks out your electricity, floods your basement, you can't get on the internet, and so building up our infrastructure is key to my priorities. I think it's very important that we make sure that all of our residents, all of America, have access to clean, affordable water, and making sure that you don't have to change your water system so you can save, you know, your money and your municipality doesn't go bankrupt. You hear what happens with Highland Park, what happens in Flint, or that we talk about when I pulled in this parking lot, you have charging stations. And so when we look at going into electrification, how do we support this grid that we're moving into this era? And so all of those things matter. And even in terms of education, building new or retooling educate schools so that they're conducive for educating. You know, it's not just going to building, but now school is canceled because the building's too hot and we don't have AC,
Right,
or the
yeah.
building's too cold because the boiler's out, or we don't have Wi-Fi, so the students can't get on and online and research, or there's not enough electrical outlets so they can plug in. You know, our students should be involved in robotics and learning skilled trades right in high school, middle school, and touching on that being introduced in elementary
And
school
all
level.
across
and
the
all,
state,
right, all
not
of it,
just
all,
in
and
specific areas.
not in rural and urban and suburban, all of that. We need to do that. So that's
That
one.
became a big issue. The not having the internet service during the pandemic. A lot of kids suffered. They were living in shelters. They didn't have access, and so, or computers.
Right.
And so that was very telling during that time.
It was. And when I served as a state rep, one of the things I'm proud of, I represented Redford Township in northwest portion of Detroit. And I asked my community and stakeholders in the community, what do you need? Because I figured out how to get things out of the budget. and
that's
So
important.
I mean,
Very
you know, that's my job. It's
Yes.
like, bring back the bacon. It's like, okay, mission accomplished. And so one was getting those tablets. And this was pre-pandemic. And so I was able to get secure tablets for Redford Union and South Redford school districts because that was their request. And then here comes the pandemic. And I was like, now see, look at those tablets going to use now.
I know
You know,
that's
it was,
right.
you know, for in-school stuff. It's like now you
Yeah.
have a base that students can start taking these home. So even before this, I've been engaged in that way.
Okay.
And then my other priority, which was really a motivator for me to get in this race, was my mom. I was a caretaker for my mother.
Which he recently just lost, so our condolences.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. I announced that I was running May 15th. And May 17th, my mother passed 2 days later. And so, of course, that knocked the wind out of me. And we was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And everything of dealing with the passing and of your mom, not only the paperwork, all the stuff you have to do, but the emotional of it. And before she got really sick, we talked about this. So she was in a nursing home, had a lot of ailments. And I felt like I did that bid with her. It's like, I was in a nursing home with you, Mom. And one day she was having a particularly difficult time and was very frustrated with the services, and I was too. And I said, Mom, you know, this will get me back in politics, because I thought I was retired after I did the State House. And I said, I would do this because this is an area in our society that we have neglected. A third of our population are seniors or near seniors.
Yes.
And it's just an area that just sorely needs attention from the care perspective to our healthcare workers.
Yeah.
to the way the money comes down to pay for those services. You should not have to get rid of all your assets. My mother worked all her life, was union and organized, so that, because once your money runs out, and even understanding how to prepare for retirement and choosing the plan A, B, X, Y, Z, there's so many
It's
plans.
challenging.
Because it's, you start to lose your hearing and your sight, and you need teeth and all of this. And it costs money. It costs a lot of money. And so when President Biden, he did a brief that he was going to pay attention to senior care. I was like, yes, come on, Joe, we love you. And I was like, now see, I can work with him. I want to be on a special committee for aging, and we're going to address this issue. And I got real excited about that. And then
they are the most voters.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
And that too. And they have the wisdom too. They have a lot of wisdom to share. But and so one morning I'm watching, the Sunday news, and it was announced that Senator Stabenow was retiring.
Yeah. Oh.
And I was like, oh my, wow. And that feeling you get when you come across something and you feel, and it just strikes, like your organization.
Yeah.
And you are just compelled. It's like, I need to do this. Well, it was like, you need, Leslie, come back in. And my first reaction was, So I started calling folks like, are you going to run? Are you going to run? Because if you run, I won't run. But we definitely have to have representation in this space. Mm-hmm. And I ultimately would love to vote for and get excited about a candidate that had experience in this space. This is no shade to city council or even state rep, because I was one. But U.S. Senate is a very high seat to sit in. And it's not where you learn on the job. I think you should have some experience and some skin in the game politically, locally in the state that you're in before you go and run for something like U.S. Senate. And that would make me excited for a candidate.
You have that experience, and then you definitely have it, even like you just said, knowing how to navigate the budget. Right. And how to get things pulled through.
Which is important.
That's very
Extremely
important.
Mm-hmm.
What you've done. So you've got experience in that area.
Yes.
Very important.
Yes. So you asked me a big question. It was about my priorities, and that was 2. And then the third one is agriculture. Now, I have a full policy priority agenda, but those are my top 3. Next to the auto industry, agriculture is our second largest industry in Michigan. Mm-hmm. And so protecting our Great Lakes and our farmlands, and making sure that America is still a producer of the food that we eat, and we always concerned about food security. Everything can't be imported. And so I'm glad that Michigan is still one of the states that produce a lot of produce that we consume here in America.
Well, besides California, they're saying that we are the next, because actually California they have a drought going on, and forever drought, it seems. And so the produce, really a lot comes from Michigan, so that is nice. You mentioned the water. So talk to us about the water, because Michelle, you didn't make your announcement today about your water.
I did not. So there's a water filtration system that you can have that come right to your home. And you can, I love it. I have one in my home. Ooh. And it's sleek, slim. The water dispenser, the gallons are not at the top, it's under the bottom. So
of your sink?
Of the device that it comes on. So it's called, Lord have mercy, I forgot. But you could call 248-798-0232. Again, that number is 248-798-0232, and get your water filtration system. They bring it right to your door. It's similar to the old Absolpure, but it's sleeker, nicer, and it's very inexpensive. Okay. So again, that number is 248-798-0232. But our water is getting bad everywhere, and that's we're messing up the landfills by throwing trash and things that gets disposed. And Michigan used to be known for having the best waterways, and because we've got the Great Lakes, we still are.
We still are, but
Michelle refuted that with me last time.
We are, because we have the Great Lakes, but now you can't even go swimming. every time you turn around, there's something where they're talking about our water is
Right.
messed up. It used to just be in rural areas. Now it's in the city. Now
Yeah.
it's in Oakland County. So it's affecting,
Right.
all over.
But be clear, like the pollution issue is real. I remember when Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib protested about the coke piles that were on the banks of the Detroit River, right downtown Detroit, and polluters who are dumping chemicals in our lakes.
Trash,
the
furniture,
right,
just
and,
anything.
and then
Plastic.
even building the controversial thought of whether or not we should build the pipeline in the Straits of Mackinac, because in the UP, they rely on that oil source. Canada relies on that oil source.
Okay.
States next to us rely on that oil source. And so the plan to build that would be to keep it safer, but also it's like, we don't want oil in the Great Lakes. And so it's a never-ending debate of how to do that, because one, it's a way of life in northern Michigan, and it's also a source of income, and it's the way they receive their energy. And not only for our state, but other states too. But also, what if something horrible happens and then we pollute one of our natural resources of wonder in the world, on the planet?
And aren't we always hearing about oil spills going into our water?
Yes. So it is.
It's a concern.
It is a concern, and I think this is not just a Michigan concern or the United States concern, but it's an international
Exactly.
concern. If you ever watch the documentaries,
Wait a minute, I want to say, see?
yeah, of nations, other nations, whether it's India or China, large populations, and you see that trash pile up. So it's not just a Michigan problem or America problem, but as global citizens, we get this one planet, and we get this one
We've
body
gotta
of
take
water
care of
that
it.
the good Lord gave us.
That's right.
And so we all have to think about how to be better stewards of that, and not just because the auto industry kind of leads the way, and they say, "Oh, we're gonna be cleaner," but also big agriculture is actually the number one polluter. To make your meat and vegetables, that's a huge polluter to our water systems.
Wow.
And so even modernizing that and still maintaining our global competitive nature is these are complicated issues that we have to work on in the U.S. Senate and on the federal level.
So again, let me give this number for our station ID. We want you to call in. You got to ask your politicians questions. 313-355-6018. Call in. We have the Honorable Leslie Love, who is running for Michigan Senator for the state of Michigan. So this is something, we've got people listening, and we thank you for all the 80,000 viewers and listeners that are listening all over the country. And it may not affect you if you're not in Michigan, but many people are from Michigan, and it still affects you because she will be interacting for the state in our country. So that's it. That's important.
Yes.
So, one of the big things between Democrats and Republicans, one of the huge issues is also our values. So how do your personal values and beliefs align with your policy position?
Yeah. So let's talk about this values. Okay. I approach my life, I think, or in my work, and a through line through this is that I really do care about the people.
Okay.
And sometimes it's gotten me in trouble because corporate wants what corporate wants. And I say, but the people are the life force for you to have the success that your company is able to enjoy.
Yeah.
And it's reciprocal. So let's be respectful for both of those industries. And before I was elected, I was a professor. I worked at Marygrove College for 13 years, and I ran the theater department there. So as an educator, Wayne County Community College. I'm still on call. Y'all might need to call me. Wayne County Community
Just
College
let
District.
me know. We'll get you back in.
And so educators, or for me, how I approached education was I am an administrator of knowledge. I want you to get it. I'm not one of those professors like, you are not going to get an A in my class. Only one person has ever gotten an A. I'm not that professor. I'm like, I want you to get an A. Earn the A already, because that's what you do. You earn the grade. I don't give you a grade. You earn it. And so, but I want you to get it. And a testament to how I am as a human being is like this past weekend, I had a fundraiser, and a former student, she came to the fundraiser, and she was so proud. And she's like, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, oh, isn't that cute? So the student comes and pats the teacher on the head, like, oh, I'm so proud of you. And I'm so proud of her. She's doing amazing things, Kalia. She has a book out and everything. But anyway, so that type of, when your students come back, even when I was at Wayne County Community College, Michelle, and I taught an art class, and one of the brothers in the class, he said, now, Miss Love, I'm a brother from the hood. I don't do no painting and stuff. You got me up here painting. I was like, you just paint the picture. And they have to learn how to mix colors and make color and all that. And his picture is hanging on the wall in my house.
Oh,
they had to do self-portraits.
Okay.
And it is
and you
just,
liked it well
I loved
enough.
it.
Yes.
It was so, because he was so.
He didn't realize his talent.
Yeah. It wasn't a great picture. Don't get me wrong, but it was great. The story was great.
Yeah.
He has notes on the picture about how to make the color brown.
Okay.
What he mixed in to make the skin tone for him. And I just loved his process. And it doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay.
I wanted to see the effort. I wanted to see the commitment. And then I wanted to see the finished product. Do it. Finish the assignment. And so that's a part of, that's how I do my politics. And I show up authentically who I am.
Okay.
I am just Leslie Love. And I did stand-up comedy.
I was about to say the hardest working woman.
and let me say, I went to her show, and you were the funniest person out of the whole show.
Oh, thank you.
Hilarious.
Oh, my.
It takes a sense of humor to do this. And not choke somebody. No, to do this.
That's true.
And then comedians to me are observers and reporters of life.
Yes.
And you have to have a unique sensibility to look at sometimes really ugly, bad situations and find the light in it. And that's a unique talent. And then to make strangers who paid money laugh. It's like, in Detroit audience, they come like, you better make me laugh. It's almost a dare contest. And to do that, to break that down, that laughter medicine, it's so good. And that's who I am. I'm an administrator of knowledge. I'm an observer of the human condition, and I authentically want to figure out how can we be our better selves, and then we leave this planet a better place. And so through my policy, that's how I approach policy. That's how I worked in the minority and got so much legislation signed into law under a Republican and a Democratic governor. And so I don't know about the other people who've been elected officials in this race, what type of policies they've been able to move or they've been able to advocate. But Leslie Love has been successful. I have a proven track record of being able to do that right here in the state of Michigan. And so, I always say, I am a real, true Democrat. Not a nights and weekends Democrat. I'm true blue to this. And I'm really not, I wouldn't say I'm conservative or liberal. It depends on what it is. But I have real, just strong democratic values. I think we need to respect the dignity of all people. Of all people.
All right.
Of all
Now,
people.
someone texted in and said, what is your stance on the promotion of the LGBTQ plus representation and inclusion in government and public life?
What's the beginning?
What is your stance on the promotion of the LGBTQ plus representation and inclusion in government and public life?
They're people too. Like when I say respect all people, I mean respect all people. Doesn't mean I have to agree or support or champion that, but I respect it. I'm always open and I understand. I think the LGBTQ community has made significant contributions to Michigan, to America, to the world. And so they have a valuable voice in this conversation, and they should be included in the conversation, and they should be at the table. So everything we won't agree on, but there are a lot of things that we do agree on. And so I'm supportive of the community. I don't know what exactly that question is, if they want to get more specific.
That's one of the huge things that between Democrats and Republicans is usually either the LGBTQ plus stance or the abortion stance, and that's where they differ.
Yeah.
And the people coming into the country. The whole
immigrants.
Do they really? Let's just talk about immigrants for a minute. Can you talk about that? Because they say they do. But many stories you have read how they hire them, underpay them. All over, they say all that. Marry them. Last president. Okay?
I knew that.
So
I knew you were going to say
let's
that.
just get right, okay?
Yes.
Are they really against it? And really, I mean,
they're hypocrites about it.
That's exactly.
We're hypocrites about it. We want your cheap labor. We'll exploit them, but that's not right for immigrants. If the system is congested, the process to get into the country, to be treated with dignity and respect, to streamline the process so that people aren't waiting for years and years and years, that there is a legitimate way to enter America and become a citizen to America. Even immigrants who went through that process don't want people to cheat the line or make it bad, to give it a bad reputation. There is a process that is proper and appropriate to do that, but also on our end as government to make sure that we're doing that as expeditiously and thoroughly as possible, that we're screening and making sure that we have citizens that are coming in who are going to add value to the nation and not destroy what we've built. And I don't think anyone has that. Well, not anyone, but the majority of people who come over here are seeking education. They're seeking political asylum. They're here for the right reasons. This criminalization of immigrants is wrong. That narrative is just false. There are far more people who are immigrants who come here to prove themselves than to destroy anything that we've built. But let it be known, there are folks who are really threatened, because the talent is real. Our immigrants are some of the most talented people too. This is a nation of immigrants,
founded on
right.
immigrants.
So sometimes we love them for what we can, exploit, but then, well, don't be too many of you. And I see that. So when it's always someone feels threatened. First it was Muslims and women who wore the burqa. It's like, oh, why do you have to come in here with your face covered and your head covered? And I thought, well, did you say that to the nun when she came in with her full habit? Did you tell her to take off her habit? That is that person's religious, that's how they express their religion. Right. But people were up in arms about that. And so then here when the LGBTQ person comes in and says, hey, I want to wear my rainbow shirt or whatever. Oh, we can't have you in here wearing rainbow shirts. It's like, listen, when did we get so sensitive about these things? Everyone wants to be seen, recognized, acknowledged, and respected. At the bare minimum, as human beings in this space, can we just do that? Doesn't mean I agree. Doesn't mean I'm going to join your cause. But I respectfully disagree. Or I was like, okay. Or maybe I'll just find out something that I didn't know before. It's like, oh, that's why you all do that? I didn't know. Okay, so it doesn't mean, it's just information, folks. It's just information.
Yeah. So someone else asked, did you have a question? You were going. Someone else asked a question that says, so what rights, with so many making laws to expand the rights of those with particular sexual preferences, what rights will you enact to protect people of faith so that they are not in the closet about what they believe?
Yeah, well, our Constitution protects our religious rights to express that.
It's supposed to.
It's supposed to.
But it's trying to get away from. And so it's like people that if you don't believe, if you are not for the whole LGBTQ plus community, then you're in the wrong if you say something contrary to that.
I think it works both ways, though. Do you find that work both ways? If you're not a Christian in this world now, it's a problem with you. If you're not serving, Christians talk about people. They don't honor people. And I'm talking more of let me just be honest. I'm talking more from some of the evangelicals. I'm sorry. A lot of the evangelicals, and I say this, are hypocrites. And they really need to think about what God they're serving. Because the Jesus I serve, he didn't mind trying to walk alongside people. So I'm just wondering. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take the question.
No. I'm going
And
to
these
follow
are
your
questions
mind.
that people gave me.
Thank you all for who are listening in and texting and asking those questions. I appreciate that. Again, God loves us all. God is all of us, and we are God. And so whether you're an atheist, a Muslim, a Christian, a Hindu, a Jehovah, you have a right to practice that. And this is one of the unique things about being an American, that you should be able to maintain that right. And I would fight to make sure that we respect your religious preference. I don't, because I'm not Muslim, I'm Christian, but I know that when I served in the house, there were some Muslims who served, and at times when they were fasting or needed to pray, that we yielded time to allow that, And so it may not always be convenient for people and corporations and businesses to do that, but we should be mindful because we're not a monolith, and we should be mindful too of those who don't believe in anything. So they exist in our world too.
I think it's about letting our light shine. Let
Yeah.
your light shine. We have the ability to convince people. But go ahead, Michelle. I'll let you speak to that too as well.
I want to give the number again because
Okay,
I've got
okay.
questions that people gave to me to ask, but I want them to call in at 313-355-6018 and ask questions that are on their mind, because generally you want to know where it's going to hit home for you. How is it our new candidate or our new senator, how is that going to hit home for me, and what areas in my neighborhood am I with the policies and things that I have to contend with every day? How is it going to make a difference in my life?
And I'm glad you're bringing that up because our president is saying that democracy is on the ballot.
Yes.
And could you speak to that, Honorable Love? Because it's people are not in tune to that democracy is on the ballot.
Wow. No one in Michigan should be unfamiliar with that, considering the last election when we had those election deniers down at, Cobo Hall, Huntington Place, whatever, the big building, Court of Justice. And then there's a trial. There was a trial that happened of those folks who claimed our elections were fraudulent. So we've experienced it right here in Michigan. And it is. The fact that we have a former president who's been indicted on some 90 charges,
91,
and then a speaker who says, well, now we're going to do an investigation on the current president. This is a very disruptive time in politics. It's really interesting. It's very volatile.
It is.
It is the simmering before the tea kettle goes beep really loud.
Making
It
ourselves
is
look kind of
really
weak as a country.
Right. And that the infighting doesn't help us.
Yes.
And we have a global conversation to have.
Yes.
We still want to be competitive. We are a super nation. We're very strong militarily and advanced. So we are looking at our competitors. We're looking at China,
That's right.
who is our largest creditor, who's making investments in Central America and Africa. So they're building infrastructure projects. You can't get water to your village, I'll build a way. You don't have broadband or internet, we'll build a way. You don't have a road, we'll build it. And then when we build it, we want you to be our friends.
That's right. Come on
And we're
now.
going to import from you. We want to be the leader in technology. And so how does that impact our economy in Michigan, our economy in America? So we have our own, we can't afford to continue to have these type of disruptive arguments in America. It chips at what we need to do in terms of our global engagement and our global competitiveness. And so this is no joke. It is like, this is a very important election. And that's why this U.S. Senate race is so important. People,
really
I
is.
cannot express to you enough.
Yes.
I would not be here. I'm not a career politician. Let me, here's some tea. Here's some tea. Here's some
Okay.
tea, listeners.
All right.
So I served for 6 years in the Michigan House of Representatives.
Okay.
During some of the most turbulent times in our state recently. And that was no small thing. And I was all over it, from auto insurance reform to the city of Detroit going bankrupt and sinkholes and Grand Rapids, everything and everything. Right.
Yeah.
So I said, I've done it. I've been in every fight and every war. I've got all my stitches all stitched up, and I'm good. And when the congressional race came, was a year and a half ago, people called me and said, "Hey, Leslie, why don't you run for the 13th?" I said, "I don't live in the 13th. Leslie, run against Rashida in the 12th. I don't want to run against Rashida in 12th. Then it was a city council. "Oh, we'd be great District 2 council person. You want to run?" They came and asked me, and I said, I'm not running just to run for office. I don't want a job. I'm gainfully employed. I'm not unemployed like some of the candidates. I am, I'm good.
Right.
This is a calling. This is a space that I am effective in. It matters to me, and it should matter to every single Michigander, that the person that we elect can go in with some understanding of the wicked and the wonderful of this business called politics. And what you have with a Leslie Love is a person who's navigated those treacherous waters and been successful, who wants to take that work to the next level now as your U.S. Senator. So it is, and so when we have these conversations of civility, we did that in the state house. It wasn't just, I'm talking about Detroit, which had a lot of needs, but all over the state of Michigan. And I had to talk to the Republicans, and I had to convince them. When COVID first hit, I remember, should I say her name? MW is her initials. She's a Republican. And we were like, we've got trailers. Sinai Grace Hospital had those cooling trailer trucks of bodies. Yes. And I'm like, y'all, this is real. You've got to help us. And I remember she said, "I don't know what y'all doing down in Detroit, but we don't have those problems where I am." And I said, "Well, damn it, you're going to have those problems if you don't do something." It was really wild to me, because when it's not happening to you, you can easily dismiss it like that's a black person problem. That's a Detroit problem, until it became a mid-Michigan and an upper Michigan and a UP Michigan problem. Yeah. It might have impacted differently, but we all got COVID.
That's right. Many people died.
Right. And so to be able to have these conversations and you negotiate and convince people to come on board. Like, this is why we're doing this.
Well, as we're approaching the top of the hour, I wanted a couple of more things. I wanted to talk about gun control, your thoughts on that. But what do you see are the greatest threats to our nation and the greatest opportunities?
What we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Civility. Tearing each other up from the inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that political beast up in Washington, D.C. is just that, a beast. And we can, and you know what? We get what we elect. This a tea moment. Yeah. We get what let's talk about how people get elected in Michigan. This entire race, I keep hearing people talk about, the congresswomen's got all this money, or so-and-so's got all this money. Well, Leslie, you don't have no money. And, all the Senate race is about money. And I said, well, I think everybody should be concerned when we start talking about money.
Yes.
Because if that's the case, every millionaire and billionaire can just buy a seat and get into these spaces. And then you'll get a Donald Trump.
Who are you getting your money from?
Right.
Caller, are you there?
Yeah.
Are you there, caller? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't hear the caller.
Oh,
call back.
Well, I love what you said about the gun. Just wanted to know about the gun.
Hello, caller. We can't hear you.
What's your topic
you saying
today?
something?
Is your topic bullying?
Turn it up. Okay, we can't hear you,
I'm
caller.
Sorry, bad connection.
You might need to
call back
or text it in. on YouTube or whatever streaming platform you're looking at us on. I've got them all up here as well, but I can't hear you. So please call back.
Wanted to get back to the guns, but also Michelle brought up about abortion, and that's another area I just feel people can be hypocritical. But that's my thought. What are your thoughts? And I'll leave it right there.
I'm curious why you think what part is hypocritical?
Well, what I think is that when you are against abortion, but when babies are born in the world, you don't want to have anything to make sure that they're getting the necessities met.
Right.
Because they should have been prepared or whatever it is that's being said. So if you first off, I don't know if, as they say, are they really for life, or are they just for birth?
Right. So as a Black woman in this space, this question about abortion doesn't go far enough for me either. Okay. Of course, I am pro-choice. I believe that people should have agency of their body in all their choices, whether it's abortion or a COVID shot. Quite honestly, I think it's hypocrisy in that, where we want agency over our body for one thing but not another. But anyway, but as a Black woman, I come into this space not just saying, yes, I want you to have choice. You have agency of your body. That's a medical decision between a woman and her doctor. But also in the Black community, we're trying to get pregnant. We want, the maternal mortality rate is 5 times as high in the Black community and communities of color than they are with our white counterparts. And so investing in real maternal health and that sensitivity around Black mothers to be able to carry their children to full term, to not die in the process of childbirth. How many of my girlfriends don't have any children because of fibroids and just non-medical treatment of those unique issues that happen predominantly in women of color that don't happen in other races. So, that's the other part of this equation. So I don't just come in saying, yes, you have a right to choose, but also help us, not only if you bring the baby into the world, but in the process of motherhood, of just mothering. So we need some mothering justice.
We've got about 2 or 3 minutes, and I want to make sure that people know how to get in touch with you, how to support your campaign. Please tell us.
I should have been saying this the entire time. Please go to loveformichigan.com. Loveformichigan.com.
Loveformichigan.com.
You spell it out. It's all the loveformichigan.com, and all you need is love, folks. That's what you need.
I love that. So go to loveformichigan.com and lend some support. Give your support to the Honorable Leslie Love, who is running for the Michigan State Senator.
No, United
States Senator. And we want you to go to loveformichigan.com and give your support. She will be around the city if you have something that you
around the state.
And if you have something you want to invite her to, can they reach you on that same site?
My phone number, my email is leslie@loveformichigan.com. And my phone number is there on my website. You are all welcome to talk with me. We'll talk about the issues. The caller who wasn't able for us to hear your voice, call me or email me.
And you said your email address was Leslie for Love?
No, Leslie@loveformichigan.com. Leslie@loveformichigan.com. But let's talk about it. Invite me to your neighborhood meeting, and I can talk to your neighbors about my views on this. But this election year is a very important one. The election is not until next year. So, but right now, our team is campaigning across the state, so I can introduce myself to you and hear about what concerns are on your mind and build that relationship. And so I look forward to doing that.
Engaging our younger voters as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The professor always engages the young adults. They keep you young, and they make me laugh. Then, sometimes they're not as stuffy as us adults, but they're refreshing. And I love my sorority, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, who's definitely members of the sorority have been very supportive in that space, because they're young adults who still believe, they're still hopeful in changing and improving our nation and being engaged. So I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Go to loveformichigan.com and lend your support to Leslie Love, who is running for senator for the